Togo is bursting. For decades, the once stable nation has been trapped under the same presidency. 50 years of promises, yet no progress. Now, in streets swelling with defiance, a new chant rises. No more! Enough is enough! Millions of Togolese, women, youth, farmers, professionals, have taken to the streets demanding one thing. The president must go. He insists on running again, pushing for yet another term after half a century in power. But today Togo whispers and shouts something he refuses to hear. Not again. We've suffered too long. We demand change. This is not just another protest. It is a nation's breaking point, a cry for dignity, justice, and a future untethered to the past. Welcome to Togo Rising. Togo, a country of 6 million, sits on one of West Africa's most studied paradoxes. Rich in phosphate, with fertile land and coastal access, yet its people struggle. Roads are little better than dirt tracks. Schools are dilapidated. Hospitals lack basic medicine, and the promise of prosperity remains elusive. For 50 years, the same political dynasty has ruled. Power passed from father to son. Each election came cloaked in ritual, but stripped of meaning. Year after year, the cycle repeated. Promises of reform, promises of jobs, promises of progress, all broken. Through it all, ordinary Togolese citizens carried on. They voted, they hoped, they waited. But in the background, wealth vanished upward, political elite entrenched deeper, and national institutions rotted. So when the president declared his intention to run again, despite 50 years of stagnation, it sparked an explosion. Enough was enough. In the months leading up to the declaration, a quiet resistance was already forming. Social media began to pulse with hashtags. At Togo Unite, #NoMore50, #Change for Togo. Young lawyers filed petitions. Civil society groups whispered plans. Suddenly, many everyday faces became courageous voices. It all ignited when a video went viral. A mother in Kapalime, tears in her voice, saying, "I voted for you. I voted for you. Where is the change?" That video lit a fuse. Across the country, others began to ask, what have we gained after half a century of rule? It was enough for the youth to take to the streets, enough for voters, fed up and fatigued, to say, no more. The protests began quietly, small, orderly demonstrations in Lomé. But each day they grew. Office workers joined after clocking out. Students didn't leave. Shopkeepers turned off their signs, silently marched. Rural communities staged sit-ins in front of prefectures. What started as moderate dissent became a national awakening. News spread quickly. Radio broadcasts in every district replayed chants. Phosphate sector workers stopped work for a day of solidarity. The message became clear. This was not a protest of chaos, but of conviction. A people tired of waiting. But power does not step aside without a fight. Too many had known the heartbreak of broken promises. No clean water, no jobs, no chances. Now they were fighting for a future. And despite fear and repression, the crowds kept coming back. Desperation had become determination. Change in Togo rippled outward. Togolese diaspora in Ghana, Benin, Nigeria, France held solidarity marches. Traditional leaders in the north called for dialogue. Churches issued statements supporting the people's right to protest. Even a few regional leaders expressed concern, because everyone knows that if Togo falls, the dominoes may fall too. The precedent of 50 years in power and zero reform, a pattern seen before in the Sahel and West Africa, is dangerous. If one nation stays silent, others may stay down. And so, the cry of no more became continental. In a defiant speech, the president claimed stability, yet no progress. He urged calm and warned of chaos. He declared a state of emergency, curfews, arrested key protest leaders, claiming they were foreign agents. He promised constitutional commissions, but refused to commit to stepping down. His words were broadcast, but they echoed hollow against 50 years of silence. The people continued chanting. Some analysts suggested he might delay the election or manipulate the outcome once again. But that only fueled the anger. They broke promises. Still, many say, they only know words, not action. Across Togo, the movement began organizing around the youth. The youth became the backbone of the wave. In a nation where 60% are under 30, that is no surprise. But it is a problem for those in power who counted on apathy. Because this movement did not slow. It gained speed. Energy morphed into resolve, resolve into optimism. The strikes began. Market vendors shut their stalls. Transportation unions halted buses and trucks. Factories slowed shipments, and the phosphate mines threatened to halt. Togo's economy, already fragile, was suspended. Without travel, without trade, the country stood still. Heavy costs, the government said. But Tam, a protester, replied, "Better a few days of discomfort than 50 years of emptiness." And so the pressure mounted, because power is fragile when the economy stops, but the people keep going. Diplomats began arriving, their statements carefully measured. The international community urged calm and dialogue. Western nations nudged for investigations. NGOs published reports on human rights violations. Pressure mounted. Some African leaders issued cautious support. Togo needs a new generation. Togo needs reform. Regional bodies considered sending a mediation team. While cameras flashed across Lomé, the government vowed it would not back down. And still, the people stayed. Then came the night of the March of 100,000. Tens of thousands gathered, the largest protest yet. Candles lit the streets. A wave of chants carried through the capital. Organizers announced it was peaceful. Music echoed. And suddenly, it felt like Togo paused, listened. They chanted, "Il est trop," it's too much. A young mother repeated, "I want a future for my daughter." A university student shouted, "We are not afraid." And in that moment, Togo was not just protesting. Togo was becoming. Then came the moment that matters. Protest leaders presented demands. End the state of emergency. Schedule an election with independent international observers. Guarantee no candidate can serve more than 2 terms. Stop arrests of journalists and protesters. Enshrine youth inclusion in future governments. They marched not against a people, but for a nation. They offered peace. They offered negotiation. And this week, President has agreed to initial talks. This is not merely a protest. It is Togo's moment of reckoning. 50 years of pain, pent-up resentment, has given way to action. A young generation unwilling to wait. A nation refusing to be silent. A future no longer promised, but demanded. There are no guarantees. The road ahead is fraught. Old power may strike back. But today, the dream of a sovereign, accountable Togo stands taller. Because change does not come with treaties. It comes with conviction. Because real power doesn't reside in palaces. It resides in the will of the people. Whatever happens next, one thing is clear. Togo is no longer the same. it will never be the same. And for the thousands who marched, who bled, who stayed weary in the streets, today they have started something greater than themselves. This is Togo Rising.
Welcome back. So in this video, we took a look at the protest that happened in Togo. Now, Togo is a small country in West Africa, and this country has been ruled by a family for more than half a century now, and it is now that the youth are rising in order to kick this family out of office, because a father and a son have only been the people who have taken control over the country right from the time power was taken till now. It is just the Gnaasingbe family that has been in total control of the presidency. Meanwhile, there is not much of development in the country of Togo. If you look at the country of Togo, you can clearly tell that majority of countries in West Africa, neighboring countries, are doing exceptionally well as compared to Togo. Now, when you compare Ghana to Togo, you could see a vast difference when it comes to development. Now, in the case of Togo, where only one family has ruled the entire nation, meanwhile the population of the country is not so huge, about 6 to 7 million people. It is now time that the youth in Togo are rising to the occasion, and I believe they are picking some inspiration from the alliance of the Sahel state, that is countries such as Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And when you look at what Captain Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, is doing in his country, it's a form of inspiration, it's a form of motivation for many youth in the continent of Africa to stand up and own up their own countries and their own destinies, because our destinies are in our own hands. To be born in Togo, it means that as it stands now, it's been 57 years. So everyone below 57 years was born under the rulership of this father and son, and nothing so significant has happened in the country of Togo. And I believe the youth are now picking inspiration from the Sahel state so that they will also be independent of this rulership, which is not helping or serving their interests. Because if you look at the country of Togo, it is very small in terms of land mass and even in population as well. And so such a country should not be lagging when it comes to development. But when you compare Togo to other West African countries, you could clearly tell that it is really lagging behind when it comes to development. So the youth are sitting up, the youth are calling for reforms to be put in place so that no one can be president for more than 2 terms. This is what is practiced in most countries. But in the case of Togo, it is just one family that has ruled the country up until now. Now, protests began on June 6th, and it keeps on going on day after day. I don't know their schedule for the protest, when it is slated to end, or if it is something that is infinite, that is going to continue forever. I do not know. But they started this on the 6th of June, and they have protested in order to show their displeasure, register their displeasure on the streets of Togo, so that the people in authority in Togo will get to know that they are fed up with their kind of leadership. Now, majority of leaders in Africa are just puppets in the hands of the West. Talk about countries like France, which was controlling Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, and many other African countries as well. But looking at the case of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, they have been able to, in a way, take themselves out of the colonial rule of France. And they even went ahead and expelled all the troops who were in Burkina Faso from their land to go back to France. Sometimes I do think about why France and other developed countries will send their soldiers from their land to come to Africa with the idea of fighting against terrorists in Africa. It becomes quite some way questionable in some way, because I don't see why, as Africans, our military cannot fight terrorists and you have to come all the way from your various countries in order to come over here and fight terrorists. This is not the real idea or the real reason why these soldiers do come to Africa. That was just by the way. Let's move on to that of the situation of Togo. So the youth are protesting that there should be reforms in order for the family of the Gnaasingbe to be taken out of office. And I believe this is a call that is long overdue. Ruling a country for over half a century is something that is unheard of. So the calls of the youth is something that is very great, and youth across Africa are very happy for the youth in Togo. It is our prayer that this protest yield very meaningful fruit. Let me know what you also think about all these in the comment section below. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family on other social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and other social media platforms. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Just look at the subscribe button down here. Click on the subscribe button. Click as well on the notification bell. And I'd like to see you again in my next video.